Hello, and welcome to the cycling recap session. I don't know, I didn't give it a title. So welcome to tonight, part of the 2020 Angel City Virtual Games presented by the Hartford. Before we start, I just want to thank the sponsors that have helped us put on the games, the Hartford and Adaptive Apps, who is also our hosting sponsor of the games. I'd also like to thank my new friends at Angel City Sports and my coworkers, Camille and Anna and Clayton and everybody else in the team that has been working much harder than I have been to put this on and make it look awesome and tirelessly to make sure that you all are having fun. So we'll just get right to it. I want to introduce a couple of my friends that I invited had us join us today. They are Becky, Jill, Stephen, and Jason, and I'll let them introduce themselves before we really get into sharing stories, asking questions, and seeing how everybody enjoyed their Sunday. So I will let Becky go first.
Hi everybody, I'm Becky Piper. I am a C2 cyclist.
Do you want to give a little bit of your story?
Well, oh boy.
You can just abbreviate it. You don't have to do all of it, but just how you got into paracycling.
Well, I got into paracycling actually by Stephen Peace, who I was participating in the CAF, not the $1 Million Challenge, the triathlon that you do with it. That name I can't remember now. And Stephen was like, have you ever considered paracycling? And I was like, no, should I? And he brought me in to the whole paracycling world, and now
They're all part of my plan.
Yes.
And you've been doing very well.
Grand plan.
Awesome, thank you. Jill, if you would like to go next, we'll do the ladies first.
Okay, unmuted. I'm Jill Walsh. I live in upstate New York in Syracuse. Oh, did it get dark in my house or what? Oh, I'm on the East Coast, so it's getting dark out. I'm a paracyclist, T2. I ride a upright trike. This is going to get redundant, but I got into cycling because of Stephen Peace. In 2013, I rode the MDC with CAF, and it was the last time I rode a two-wheel bike. I hit the ground more times because in California you have to stop all the time. And Stephen was there riding a trike, and I got a hold of him later and asked, and he said I could borrow one of his trikes and if I decided to race it. And I said I wasn't interested in racing it, but I really wanted to borrow it. And he said clearly I didn't understand what he said, that I needed to race it. So yeah, I got into the next year. I went to the Paracycling Nationals, and yeah, it's been a crazy, crazy ride. In more ways than one.
Okay, so then logically it makes sense to go to Stephen Peace next, since he brings almost half the team into the equation.
I'm Stephen Peace, down in San Diego, California, and I collect people and steer them towards paracycling. I'm a T2 and have been for 11 years. So I'm a stroke survivor, had a stroke in 2006, and that's about it.
Okay. Last but certainly not least is Mr. Jason Kimball.
Hello, that's me. I'm Jason Kimball. I'm a veteran of the Marine Corps and the Army. I currently live in Montana, where looks like fall outside. I've been riding bikes for about 3 years now after a spinal cord injury. I got on a bike as rehab, and that was 10 years ago, and decided I wanted to become a Paralympic cyclist, and I've been doing that ever since.
Okay, what some of these people are not telling you is that there are world championship wins and world records also in this panel of cyclists, and they're just being too humble to share, which I'm kind of surprised because somebody does not let me. His name is Jason Kimball, but that's okay. Whatever. It's fine. We'll move on. For those that don't know, I am a C4 cyclist. I was a C5, but I recently got reclassed to a C4. And that basically means that I ride an upright bike and I'm on the more functional side. So when you're in an upright, a C5 is the most functional of the disabilities, and then you go all the way down to C1, and that's the least functional. And then you go to trikes, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. And there's 2 trike categories. And then there are hand cycles, and I think there's 5. Yep, Stephen Peace is saying there's 5. And then there is the tandems for people that are visually impaired. So we have a couple uprights and a few trikes in our session today, which is fun for me because these are my friends that I hang out with the most. And I'm super, super humbled. So thank you guys for joining me because I feel very honored to actually have all of you guys say yes to my request. So did anybody else, who did the race this morning? Did anybody do the race and want to share some of their stories? Feel free to unmute yourself and share. Stephen, you can go first since it looks like you want to say something.
I was just saying around and around and around.
You should clarify that as trike riders, because we don't turn very well, we turn even wider than a hand cycle, a lot wider and not so stable. We don't ever get to ride crits. So for me, that was so much fun because I've never really done that before, but it is really around and around and around. I've never had the experience of doing that before, so it was something new to me.
And
Okay.
basically the course is pretty flat except for the very short climb. And you started out for this race and that hill you didn't notice it. By lap 7 or 8, then it was like, oh my God, I can't make it up it again. So it was a good course.
Thank you. I thought halfway through I was like, why did I make it so long? Al or Jason, you want to share your stories? Because I know both of you were in there because I was watching the finish of the race by watching you guys.
Yeah, I don't know if I was the only recumbent there. I think another guy, Caesar, he tried to get in there. So, yeah, I try not to ride as much as Swift. I've been training mostly longer rides. Doing the Great American Ride. That actually helped me out. I got a little bit faster. Yeah, it was tough. Someone came in and got me. I don't know, Jay Williams, I think who it was, or
Jason
man,
Kimball.
he was right on me.
I think that was me. All I can remember that whole time, chasing. And then I finally caught you and I thought, okay, I'm just going to sit here and wait until the end because this is a long race.
It was still a good race. I'm trying to see if I'm going to compare if we do this next year or whenever Angel City decides to do it again. I just like to compare my results, to see how is this how next year, hopefully we could ride more outside.
Okay, so did anybody do the casual ride on their bikes or hand cycles or a race chair, I guess, because they don't have a hand cycle that want to share their story of their day.
Nope.
I saw Francisco tagged me in a ride. For Rob, I saw also. No stories? Okay, we'll keep moving along. Does anybody?
I mean, well, I was waiting for Francisco to get on, but I have another long tail story about my morning, which is I couldn't get on the Zwift, so I just rode anyway. I just got on too late. I was too busy having technical difficulties.
That's okay.
It was me, not you.
Well, thank you for trying.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat, Sam. It's from Anna, and she wants to know more about the classes.
I think Stephen P. should answer that one because he's definitely more versed in that than I am.
Well, they classify you as one of two things, male or female, and that's an easy classification. Then in each male and female, you've got 5 people that ride hand cycles, H1 through H5. In all of these, the lower the number, the ones are the most disabled people. And then they've got H5. Then they've got your C 1 through 3, 4, 5. Those ride your regular bikes. T 1 and 2 for your trikes. And B for the blind pilot tandems.
You can qualify, like, there are some crossover, so it's not really that clear cut. Like if you're missing like a hip disartic, you're completely missing that leg, you can ride a hand cycle or you can ride a 2-wheel bike, but you can't ride a trike, which is bizarre, but no amputee, like but so there are crossovers where you can kind of choose which type of bike you want to ride. You're not like forced into, unless you're not disabled enough to qualify for that particular time, but there are some crossovers, so it's not really that clear cut.
And
It's
then
like me, go ahead.
No, you could be a trike or we tried to have an intervention with her and tell her that she really needed to be on a tricycle, but she just wants to ride the 2-wheel bike until she kills herself. But go ahead.
and
In my defense, I have gotten even better, and I rode around the velodrome without dying.
and
Didn't you break your arm?
Oh, I broke my hand, but I can't move my hand anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
And in everything, there's always a fudge factor. So you would be your first time in classification. Some people are going to be maybe a C2, C1, or T1, T2. Not really sure exactly where you'll be until they watch you during your first race, and then they can make a determination for what your actual classification is.
And there is a pretty big range in each classification, especially like in the trike, because there's only 2 classifications. You can look at 2 people and you think, how are they in the same class? And they are. And yeah, it's not very clear cut. It's hard to predict where you would be classified. Like you can't say, oh, this makes you this. I've heard that it's in all sports. It's kind of the same way. The classification is kind of a dartboard that they throw darts at.
They're taking all the disabilities of the world and putting them into like, was it a total of 12 categories?
Yeah.
So.
And in each class, there's a wide range of higher functioning and lower functioning in each class because there's no other way of doing it. There'd be no other way of doing it. And like as far as paracycling, like I know in athletic, like they don't have, and it's kind of a strange thing, they don't have a medal for every class. Like when you go to the games, you're combined, and then they apply this crazy factoring system. So it's really like, so there'd be 26 classes. Well, we don't take 26 athletes. We take much less. So you're competing against, on your own team to get a spot to go somewhere, you're competing against all the classifications. But when you go internationally, you compete against people of your classification. But then when you go to the games, they combine classifications. So it's really kind of crazy. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, and one thing that Stephen didn't mention is that with the tandem cyclists, they can't be co-ed on the bike also. They have to be female and female or male and male, because they used to have them. Word is, because this was before my time, but they used to have co-ed as an option, and then they would just get the biggest male cyclist that they could find to pilot the bike, which is the person on the front, and then they would get the smallest female to be the stoker or the person on the back. So then it just became able-bodied male racing, or able-bodied male racing able-bodied, because the person on the front of the tandem is usually somebody that is able-bodied or does not have a disability, and then the person on the back is the VI. So they would have a race, basically 2 male track sprinters against each other. So now they have to be same sex on the bike.
If you want me to, I'll answer next question about making the team for Tokyo.
You're gonna have me answer that? I think.
I would.
Oh, that's what I was gonna throw that on you. Feel free, go ahead. You just take over.
Basically, how many of each class will make it for the team Tokyo? It's not based on class. We ride team rides for 4 years up to the Olympics, and they all sorts of races, World Cups, World Championships, and we build up points based on how we do. And then like 3.5 years come by, and they rank the teams, and they give you slots. And we would, like, I think we have this year we have what is it, 11 men and 6 women or something like that.
Right now,
Yeah,
11 men,
6, something like that. And then we have our class, our big Paralympic trials, which is like, it comes down to one single race that you qualify for the Olympics. And you do your best, and they rank everybody using factors. And like, that means your C1s, your C5s, your Ts, your Hs, all get ranked together with a factor to make it more balanced out.
yeah, they get that factor number, your standard time, by taking the second place finisher from, I don't know, the last 6 world championships and other events, and they get this time. So they want to see your medal potential. So their whole goal of doing that is to find your medal potential. So they figure out a time standard that you should be making to be almost guaranteed to be on the podium. And then it's your percentage against that time. So say mine is 2 minutes per kilometer. So if I do 1 minute and 58 seconds per kilometer, then I'm under standard, which makes it, you want the lower the number, the better chance you have of medaling. So it's
right.
kind of hard to explain, yeah.
And the factors change too. So from typical making the world's team rosters, making World Cup rosters, the standard, or the standards change for game specific roster trials. So we'll go to the trials for the Paralympic Games and have to use different standards that are more focused on the results of previous games. So it's different than the typical standard that we get every year, published every year, that we can see for every other race to make USA.
And they try to make the thing for our Paralympic trials, they try to make the course similar to what the Olympic course will be, the Paralympic course will be. It doesn't always work perfect, but it's better than nothing.
Because in outdoor cycling, if you're good on hills, you're usually not good on flats. So it depends what the course is going to be. So who would have a better chance of getting a medal if it's a hilly course, and someone who rides hills. So they try to take that into consideration.
Right.
But a track's a track, right?
Yeah. A track is not a track. They actually designed the track in Rio based off LA. I'm pretty sure it was just LA. Jason, I might be wrong on that, but it was designed to mimic the velodrome in LA, but they're different all over the world. There are some that are more of an oval shape, and then there are some that are a little bit more round. Typically, the ones that are a little bit more round are easier to race on than the oval shape because you have more of a turn. So you're basically just turning in a circle the whole time instead of trying to come out onto the straightaway where it's flatter and then going into the other turns.
And there's 4 people on this panel that have been to Paralympics: myself, Sam, Jill, and Jason. So,
And Becky will get there too.
What's that?
Becky will get there too. She's working on it. Okay, that said, perfect segue. What are some tips and tricks you've learned in your experience, and or what you wish you knew, what you know now that you wish you knew when you started? Anybody go first?
Okay, I'll start.
Okay, go ahead, Becky.
One thing I've learned, and it was mainly from being on a team full of trike riders and being the only cyclist, like I was the only 2-wheeled bike on my team of trikes.
So you wanted a third wheel?
Sorry, what?
You wanted a third wheel?
No! No, I did not want a third wheel, but I learned to really pay attention to other classifications, even though that's not my classification, because you never know what you're going to learn something from. You know, one of the biggest lessons I learned was about the camber in the road, and even though it doesn't affect paracyclists, like the 2-wheeled bikes, as much as it does trikes, I use that to my advantage with understanding what the road was doing, and yeah.
I guess I think I started off that way. If you want to get into paracycling, cycling can suck up all your money. I mean, it's a very expensive sport. Everything is very expensive, but I didn't start off with it. I had a bike that the local bike shop donated to me, which was actually too small. Like, it's really about the engine. Don't worry about running out and getting fit. Yes, money can buy speed, but it's when you're at a certain level that money starts to buy speed. And just work on your engine. That's all I did for the first couple of years. That's all I still really do. Work on the engine, and then the bike parts will come later. And it's because in the beginning, it's just about how strong you can make your body. So it doesn't matter if you don't have the top end bike, because I don't have the top end bike. But work on your engine, and then the bike parts will kind of fill themselves in when the time being. So don't worry that you don't have all the best equipment, because it doesn't really matter. Just get yourself, if you want to be passionate about being a cyclist, just get your body, your engine as strong as you can make it.
Yeah, my bike came from Craigslist, honestly. And I still ride it, and I, compete in high races on it. And it came from Craigslist. Given it came from like months and months of hunting on Craigslist. But yeah.
I think I bought mine on Craigslist also when I first got back into cycling. I actually started on my dad's road bike that he had when we lived in Alaska and raced mountain bikes. So I raced mountain bikes when I was younger, and then I had surgery, and surgeries didn't go right. So I ended up with a disability now as a result. So I took up rowing. That didn't quite pan out, and my dad got me back on a bike, but it was his bike from 20 years ago, and it was too big, and I was wearing my mom's shoes that were way too small, and my dad's mountain bike jersey, which like flapped like a sail in the wind. And then when I bought my bike, it was Cannondale bike. I still like have a soft spot for it. It was cherry red, which is like the dream color for a sports car. that I'll have one day eventually when I retire from cycling, because I can't afford the sports car with all the bikes. But I bought that bike for $600 on Craigslist, I think, and then like upgraded the components, because Jill's right. Like, for me, the engine was the important part. Like, money can buy speed. Yes, money can buy things that are lighter, make the bike lighter. But the bike also can't be too light, or it's an illegal bike and you can't race it. So it has to be like 15 pounds. And you can get your bike light enough to be under that. And that's
I wish it weighed 15 pounds.
Mine weighs 30 pounds, girlfriend.
okay.
Sorry.
Okay, upright bikes. I'm sorry. Upright bikes can get under 15 pounds. And then you have to put like washers and stuff in it to make it heavier. So you have to have it meet UCI standards in order to race it. So for me, I agree with Jill in that, like, your engine is the biggest component of the bike. Like, you can have a bike no matter what, and if your engine sucks, you're not going to race well, or you're not even going to ride well, and you're not going to enjoy it, because the bike can only do so much. And I'll say that the other few things that I wish I had learned sooner was the importance of a bike fit. And I don't just say that because of Bosco Bike Fits, which is also a sponsor of today. I say that because I didn't realize how off my fit was on the bike until I actually went and got a professional fit and had the reasons why something wasn't working, or the reasons why something had to be changed, explained to me. So like for me, for example, my right leg is an inch shorter than my left as one of my disabilities. So when I first started cycling, I had shims between my shoe and the cleat, so that when I was clipped in, I basically was even on both sides. But it was effectively making it like I was wearing high heels. So instead of my foot being pointed this way, it was pointed like this, which isn't really conducive to getting power through the pedals and actually going faster. So then when I got a bike fit, I've gotten many, but it was actually it was even just a couple years ago that I got a bike fit where they put some of that shim in my insole throughout the whole bottom of my insole inside the shoe. So then it reduced the angle back down. So I was not wearing high heels, and I effectively got more power out of my right leg, as opposed to when I wasn't having those bike fits. So I would say the importance of a bike fit is also huge, especially if you're newer, because you don't want to develop bad habits and then have to teach yourself new habits. And I would also say, like, be a sponge. Don't ever say or feel like you know it all. I learned from my dad riding that anybody who's new to cycling, like, go out and ride bikes with them, get them to have fun, answer questions they may have, give them some tips, like, always be a sponge, because there's stuff that I'm still learning now from the people on this panel with me to this day, whether it's them telling me or them showing me, that will help me excel more in my racing. And if I wasn't able to be that sponge and take in what they're saying and hear constructive feedback, then I wouldn't be getting better. So I think those would be mine. We haven't heard from the guys yet. Maybe you can go. Don't, like, rush to be the first one.
I would say that there's two things when I started that were most important, and that would be learning patience and still being tenacious. So you want to be hungry, but you got to be patient. I mean, it was 3 years before I was ever close to getting my first medal, and at the national level. And then I don't know how many world championships I went to before I ever got my first medal. I think it was 5 world championships before I got in the medals, and that was mostly thanks to my awesome teammates. Yeah, so those are probably the two things that I feel are most important. Equipment, all those things will come after years, but everything else doesn't come right away. You got to take time and remain hungry all that time as you're getting beat down every time, it feels like. But yeah, to me, that would be a couple important things.
Can I just share a quick cute story about Jason Kimball? You probably don't even remember this, Jason. We were at the World Championships in Greenville, and I was so new to cycling. I have to wear a white color helmet, but I didn't own one. I had a black one, so they said, "Oh, just put tape all over it." So I had tape all. I'm going to my road race, and Jason walks up to me, and he did this beautiful aerodynamic white helmet. He just hands it to me and gives me this look like, "Take that tape thing off your head." And I wore his helmet in that race. Thank you. You
I
remember
do
that?
remember that. And yeah, I was happy, more than happy to help you look the part at a world championship.
Jason's like the big old teddy bear. He kind of, I don't know if this sounds bad, so don't take it the wrong way, but he kind of reminds me of my dad. Like, can be super intimidating, and people see him and they're like, ooh, I don't know if he's going to be nice to me. I probably shouldn't say anything because he'll probably just be like, you guys stink, I'm leaving, like, don't talk to me. But he would give you the shirt off his back if you asked him to. Hence why he kept going in the bike ride that I turned around on. Just left off. But he's like one of the nicest people you will ever meet. So I'm not surprised that he did that, because he does that to everybody. And he is also a coach. So if you ever need coaching advice, be sure to hit him up. You're still a coach, right?
Actually, I stopped coaching a little while back. It's
Okay.
a tough gig. Yeah, but I mean, I'm more than happy to give people advice, whenever I can, but doing training plans and things like that, I don't do that anymore.
Okay, so if you need tips and advice, just hit Jason up. I'm offering his services.
But those were both great things to say about me, Jill and Sam. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I will say too, like, Jill and Steven are also awesome. Becky is too. But I remember I first met Jill at Greenville also with my husband Andrew, and she was just like a deer in headlights, super nervous, super like, what did I get myself into? So we've all been there. It's okay. And sometimes, go ahead.
You only owe me 3 espressos now.
Okay, that's interest. Anyways, that's fair. I can take it. But like, don't be afraid to feel like it's your first time also, because there are times when I get on the track and I haven't ridden the track in a while, and the turns are banked at 47 degrees and 2 stories high, and it's intimidating. And I think that's what sport can be for a lot of people, no matter what level and no matter what level of experience. Like, there's always something that's super intimidating. So don't let that stop you from trying, because we all kind of fail at some point. But it's not a failure, it's a lesson, and we learn from it and we get better, and we can't get better unless we don't know what we're doing wrong.
There's another question in there about Bosco bike fits. I'll let you take that, or
Okay. I was really hoping that he would be here because he's actually working today, and he tried to make sure he could rush home to be here on time, but I don't think he will be. Bosco Bike Fits does do fits for trike racers. We're working on hand cycles. We haven't really had somebody that has been willing to work with us on that, so he hasn't actually had somebody do that yet. But if anybody's interested, or like Rob, if he has advice, we can talk to him about it. But like, he'll do fits for the trike racers and even the tandems, because he has a size bike, which is basically a bike that he can fit the person on and then transfer those measurements to the person's trike. for the tandem. And even I think with the trike, you could just take out the through axle and put the actual bike on the stand and actually get fit to your bikes. He just has not done that yet because Miss Jill has not come out for her fit yet. But Stephen Peace, you can come up and we can try it out. But it's fun. He actually has been helping with more adaptive athletes and learning a bunch more, and it's been interesting to see. And I think his biggest piece of advice, if he was here, would be to make sure that make sure you're using insoles if you need them.
And he's got a espresso machine in the bike shop.
Yes, boy. Yes, he does. Come on, I own it too. Like, that was the one thing I needed. He's the bike fitter. I got the coffee maker. But definitely insoles, because if you have high arches or even somewhat of an arch, if you don't have the insole, you are losing power from that transfer to the pedal. Because if you try to do a squat, for example, and in the mirror and watch your knee tracking, if you have a high arch, even if it collapses or not, and you're doing a squat, your knee will fall inward because your body is trying to stabilize itself because it thinks it's going to be injured. And so it's not getting all of the power transferred to the pedal and making you go faster. You're actually losing some of it along the pedal stroke down. But if you have the insole, it keeps your arch supported so that the weight of your body is distributed evenly across your foot along the insole, therefore making you more stable. You're less likely to try to do something else in other parts of your body to stabilize yourself, and can push down on the pedal. So I think that would be his biggest advice, other than going to get a bike fit, because he is a bike fitter. So I'm giving you a second piece of advice. Cool. Well, thank you,
So I gotta
everybody.
go to Redlands.
Yes, you got to do Redlands. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Again, I'd like to thank the Hartford, our presenting sponsor of the 2020 Angel City Virtual Games presented by the Hartford, and Adaptive Apps, our hosting sponsor. I'd also like to thank Bosco Bike Fits for sponsoring the event and donating $5 for every person who did a 5-mile casual ride. Swift race does not count. Don't even.
Here, we don't go outside.
Okay. Well, if you do a 5-mile ride right now, it'll count. And also Shamrock Capital Advisors, another sponsor of the event. Also, the beautiful ladies at Angel City Sports for helping me and keeping me sane when I am going crazy. They've been awesome. And my 4 friends who joined me on the panel here and shared some of their story and their wisdom, and always keep it entertaining.